This is The Great Expanse by John Babb 426 here on YouTube. It is always a pleasure to record these videos, to edit them, put in a few things here, take out a few things there, put my unique spin on them. For your viewing pleasure, for your listening pleasure. And if you like the videos that you've seen thus far, hit the like button. Share these videos with other people that you know that like comic book related stuff as much as you do. Subscribe to the channel, hit that bell for notifications. Which one? All. Not personalized or the one underneath, but all, so the next time a new videos drop, you'll know about it second. I'll know about it first. Look at that thing. The forearm is probably almost bigger than the bicep. One rep jab. Aha. Now, I don't know what that was. Aha. But you've read the headline. You know what the video is about. One of DC's most valuable characters is now the DCU's biggest headache. And on the thumbnail, there's a picture of James Gunn, and then the background is the old Justice League. Not Justice League Unlimited, but the 2 seasons that came out prior to Justice League Unlimited. Now, the website is Comic Book Resources. And I haven't really done an article-related video in a minute, so if I'm a little rusty, you'll have to forgive me. Now, the article is written by Ryan Scarnato. Sounds like a pseudonym if I've ever heard one. No, I'm kidding, but maybe that's his real name. Okay, let's get right into the article. So far, the DCU is off to a promising start with the positive reception of Creature Commandos, Superman, and Peacemaker Season 2. For the first time, the DC franchise is building strong momentum with the type of consistent quality that made the Marvel Cinematic Universe as successful as it was for years. Now, I don't know why they're using the word was, because Marvel is still successful. All right. The DCU still has a long way to go and has many more characters to introduce before it can ever rival the MCU success. But as of now, DC Studios has had the better year. Remind me to get back to that point after we finish the article. The next DCU project after Peacemaker will be Lanterns. Yes! Set for HBO, and next summer, Supergirl hits theaters. The DCU also plans to deliver a film centered on one of Batman's more obscure villains, Clayface, next year. So we're getting Supergirl as well as Clayface on the big screen in 2026. Interesting. Batman's Rogues Gallery is a major contributor to his cinematic success and will likely factor into the DCU's future as well. No Batman villain is more recognizable than the Joker. Duh. With acclaimed actors like Jack Nicholson, Oscar winner, Mark Hamill, who voiced the Joker for years, Heath Ledger, Oscar winner, Jared Leto. Maybe he's won an Oscar, I'm not sure. And Joaquin Phoenix, each putting their own iconic spin on the Clown Prince of Crime. And we know Joaquin Phoenix did also win an Oscar for Joker. Not only has the Joker's role become a step above others, with Ledger and Phoenix earning Oscars for their portrayals, the villain has also launched a successful film franchise all on his own. However, there's no denying the DC franchise has featured a lot of the Joker in recent years, and despite his value, it's created a notable problem for the new DCU. Now, before I go into that, there was I don't call it a behind-the-scenes scene, but it's more of a bonus scene from The Batman with Robert Pattinson reprising his role as the Batman, and Barry Keoghan. Okay, you may not know his name, but he also played, I do not remember his character's name. His name will appear here, his character's name, in Eternals. You know, a very young look. He's also in Saltburn, okay, a movie that I heard was wild, which I did not see. He played Joker, and he played a very menacing Joker in appearance. In other words, he looked like, stop it, you. He looked like someone that was actually removed from nuclear waste, which the Joker is made from, all right? So I have to say that I really enjoyed the way Barry Keoghan portrayed the Joker in that short scene. It gave me a lot of Clarice Starling, Hannibal Lecter vibes, okay? So the Joker's most recent live-action appearance was a disaster. Ooh, I wonder what they're talking about here. A Joker standalone had great promise, especially after the success Sony found with Venom in 2018. Anyway, however, nobody anticipated just how successful Todd Phillips' Joker would become. The controversial 2019 film blew box office projections out of the water by crossing the celebrated billion-dollar threshold on a $55 million production budget. Joker went on to become a critical darling as well, with plenty of praise for Phoenix's performance, the stunning cinematography and haunting musical score, as well as the fact that Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar for portraying Arthur Fleck, Joker. Joker was never intended to launch a franchise. With how successful the first film became, it became hard for Phillips and Warner Brothers to leave Arthur Fleck alone, which they should have done. They should have just left it alone, put it under glass, put it behind a velvet rope, and just let you see it at a museum instead of touching it anymore. Phillips and Phoenix eventually agreed to pursue a Joker sequel and follow up on Arthur Fleck's original story. Joker Folie à Deux also introduced another part of the mythos with Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn. The result was an unminimized disaster. I've never heard that word before, unminimized. Unminimized disaster. The sequel bombed at the box office with its projected budget of around $200 million and gross of only $207.5 million worldwide. Terrible. Joker Folie à Deux didn't win over critics and audiences either, with a shared 31% on Rotten Tomatoes. The sequel took a bolder swing than the first Joker film, with the jukebox musical elements woven into the story, but it failed to resonate in the same way. For many, Joker Folie à Deux killed the goodwill the first film created, and now audiences will have to await a new version of the character. I did not see Joker Folie à Deux. On this channel, I said it was a bad idea to have a sequel to a $1 billion movie that was out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like, there's no attachments. The story wasn't pushed outward to connect it with other media. It was just a standalone story. It was a self-contained story. I was like, why would they make a sequel? But the brain trust at Warner Brothers decided, let's try to capitalize on money rather than story. Shame on you. Matt Reeves already introduced his version of the Joker. I just spoke about that before we read the article. Okay? The good news about Joker Folie à Deux's failure, the good news about the failure, is funny, is that the film was separate from everything else going on at DC. So the franchise can quickly move on without explanation, which I'm sure they'll do. Meanwhile, DC Studios has another film series that will continue under the Elseworlds banner with the Batman epic crime saga from Matt Reeves. The Batman delivered a dramatic new take on the Dark Knight with a focus on his detective side, which is one of the things I praised the movie for, the detective side. The film saw Batman face off against the Riddler, the Penguin, Catwoman, and others in an epic crime thriller. Toward the end of the film, Reeves also teased his universe's version of the Joker, played by Barry Keoghan. I'm gonna break again from the article. I hated that version of Barry Keoghan's Joker. Hated it. Because it was what? Shoehorned. I don't know why I made that sweeping motion, but it was shoehorned into the movie. The movie would have been perfectly fine without that forced cameo by Barry Keoghan's Joker. And that's just my 2 cents. The Batman's Joker only ever appeared obscured, both in the film and during a deleted scene, which was shot very well. It's unclear just how much Keoghan's Joker will factor into future films, but he and Batman already have a history based on their exchange in the cutscene. I love that scene. Reeves has gone on to share that his Joker is not fully formed, like his Batman, and could evolve in more appearances. So many filmmakers have been eager to put a signature stamp on the Joker, and Reeves would be another to deliver something just as iconic. And here's a quote from Matt Reeves. It's like Phantom of the Opera. He has a congenital disease where he can't stop smiling, and it's horrific. His face is half covered throughout most of the film. It's not about some version where he falls into a vat of chemicals and his face is distorted, or what Christopher Nolan did, where there's some mystery to how he got these scars carved into his face. You know how I got these scars? What if this guy from birth had this disease and he was cursed? He had this smile that people stared at that was grotesque and terrifying. Even as a child, people looked at him with horror, and his response was to say, okay, so a joke was played on me. And this was his nihilistic take on the world. Matt Reeves is explaining the origin of his Joker in the Batman epic crime saga. Hopefully I'll remember that point too. However, there's still the question of whether or not audiences want to see it after the recent disappointment of Jared Leto's Joker in the DC Extended Universe and the Phoenix-led sequel. So there's 2 disastrous Jokers in live action. Before getting his own standalone franchise, Joker had primarily played a supporting role in Batman films to explore one of the most compelling dynamics in fiction. However, the DC Extended Universe decided to introduce his Joker differently. Instead of appearing in a Batman film, Jared Leto debuted as the Joker in Suicide Squad. Not The Suicide Squad, but Suicide Squad by David Ayers. The DCU's Joker would play a role outside the film's main plot that delved into his relationship with Harley Quinn. Leto's Joker was the first to not receive the same acclaim as previous portrayals, thus becoming another marker against the DCEU. Leto would eventually share a memorable scene with Ben Affleck's Batman and Zack Snyder's Justice League, but overall, the DCEU's approach turned out to be a letdown. And I really did like Jared Leto's little bonus scene with Ben Affleck in Zack Snyder's Justice League. I thought that was Jared Leto's best portrayal. So far, the plan for Joker in the new DCU remains unknown, but one possibility could repeat a similar mistake the DCEU made. Recently, The Hollywood Reporter shared that Zach Cregger, coming off the hit Warner Brothers film Weapons, has his eyes set on a potential DC project. Cregger's script, titled Henchman, would tell an original story of an unknown criminal who gets the better of Batman, similar to the premise of Batman the Animated Series episode, The Man Who Killed Batman. So when you do something like this, it's an opportunity to introduce more of Batman's rogues, because maybe this guy goes to Arkham or Blackgate, and you see like Black Mask, you see Killer Croc, Penguin, who we've already seen with Colin Farrell in the Batman in the series titled Penguin. You might see glimpses of Poison Ivy, who we haven't seen in the new iteration of the DCU. Two-Face, one of my favorite Batman villains. And maybe they'll go that extra step and introduce more obscure yet supernatural characters. Maybe Solomon Grundy. I would love to see Solomon Grundy in live action. Basically a big zombie. We have zombie movies aplenty. Or Mr. Freeze. You never know. Let's see. Here's a list of Joker's live action film appearances. Batman 1966. I laugh every time I think about that movie. Played by Cesar Romero. Batman 1989, played by Jack Nicholson. The Dark Knight, of course, mentioned in the article by Heath Ledger. Suicide Squad, Jared Leto. Joker, Joaquin Phoenix. Zack Snyder's Justice League, Jared Leto again. The Batman, Barry Keoghan. And Joker Folie à Deux, with Joaquin Phoenix reprising his role as Arthur Fleck. Reports suggest Henchman's story would also feature characters like Joker and Harley Quinn in some capacity. In the event that the Henchman becomes a reality at DC Studios, it would follow similar territory as the DCEU Suicide Squad, since it could mark the Joker's debut in the DCU if the project picks up momentum after Weapons' success. I did not see Weapons. The Brave and the Bold will mark the debut of the DCU's Batman as of now, but Clayface and other Gotham City stories could make it to the screen beforehand, as DC Studios juggles two ongoing Batman franchises. That leaves plenty of possibilities for where the Joker could appear next. The best approach the DCU and Matt Reeves should take is to leave Joker on the sidelines and explore other villains, like the aforementioned Mr. Freeze, Hugo Strange, and others ripe for reboots and debuts. After the recent failure of the Joker on the big screen, DC Studios should give the character the Thanos treatment and slowly build up to his grand return, whether it's in the DCU or the Batman crime epic saga. Making audiences miss the character could go a long way. This article is going long. Let me find out how much longer it goes. Hopefully it's these last two paragraphs. Yep, only these last two paragraphs. As DC Studios juggles two ongoing Batman franchises, that leaves plenty of possibilities for where the Joker could appear next. The best approach the DCU and Matt Reeves should take, I'm sorry, there's only one paragraph left. Two paragraphs left. As much as some might be sick of the Joker, he's still a vital part of Batman's lore and deserves a place in the DCU at some point. The Joker is one of the most iconic comic book characters ever created, and the DCU will be incomplete without his presence. Furthermore, the character is one of the few villains who could lead a billion-dollar film, which Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix have already done, and DC Studios shouldn't leave that potential untouched for too long. DC Studios is creating a ton of positive momentum, and rushing into another version of the Joker could hinder it. In many ways, Joker's eventual inclusion into the DCU could match the level of excitement surrounding Marvel Studios' X-Men plans. Putting the Joker on hold for a few years is what's best for the DC brand. But once the studio decides to bring him back, a successful reboot could give the DCU franchise a serious boost to become Hollywood's next premier superhero saga. And that is the article. And again, this article sort of leapt off the page when it says this DC character, who's a major character, the Joker, is the #1 villain in DC. Yes, Joker more than Lex Luthor. more than Darkseid. Joker, more than Riddler, more than Catwoman, more than the Penguin. Joker is the villain of the DC universe. There's one little line in DC's Salvation run where they say that the bad guys, the lower tier supervillains in the DC universe, they gather around, and when they scare each other, they tell each other Joker stories. Now, I don't know where that quote came from, specifically issue, but that is a line. So that lets you know how much weight, how much gravitas there is to the Joker character. Now, there were a few things that I wanted to discuss. Okay, Matt Reeves. The origin of the Joker being cursed and having a disease where he can't stop smiling. Matt, that's whack. Whack. Unless you can introduce the supernatural into it, and you can also bring in the Lazarus Pit or the Dionysium, which apparently has led to the Joker's immortality in the history of the DC comic books. Because in one of my favorite confrontations between Batman and the Joker, they have this epic battle in a cave beneath Gotham City, and this Lazarus material, which is, I think, partially responsible for Vandal Savage's immortality and Ra's al Ghul's Lazarus Pits, is what has kept the Joker alive for perhaps centuries. But we don't know. That's why the beauty of the Joker in DC Comics is that we don't know who he is or where he comes from. So I love the mystery surrounding the Joker. But if Matt Reeves is able to introduce a supernatural element, which they tried to do with the Joker with the Dionysium, as I just mentioned, that could be very interesting. But the idea of him just being like, now I'm always smiling, like Heath Ledger, and being cursed is kind of whack. Like, let's just say it. It's kind of whack, Matt. Why can't he just been too close to the acid if you don't want him to really fall into the nuclear waste? Like, doesn't that make more sense, Matt? Come on, man. So I don't like that idea. That sucks, that idea. But the Joker is such a heavyweight. The Joker really can and has previously helmed his own film franchise. Now, we know the second one stunk. I didn't see it, but according to the box office, it did poorly. Poorly. But with the right supporting cast, with the support of the DCU under James Gunn, maybe we don't need another Joker franchise. But what we need is a grand entrance of the Joker, and we need a really meaningful movie with the Joker combating his eternal foe, because he's been battling Batman since 1940. So for 85 years, he's been a thorn in the Batman's side, a pebble in the shoe. We need to see that live action collision on the big screen. Now, those were my thoughts on the article. The article was very informative. I really liked it. What did you think of the article? What did you think of my editorial on this editorial? All right, leave a comment, okay? Leave a dissertation if necessary. In other words, be as wordy as you need to. And if you're not sure where those comments or dissertations go, someone has come along to lend me assistance. Thank you, Mr. Brent, Warnham Hall's Finest, The Office UK. Do your part, and I'll do my part. So The Great Expanse by John Bat 426 can and will expand. It's in the name.